Welcome to another episode of Mexican in the Kitchen. This time I have a bit of a different kind of recipe. I usually bring some Mexican or Mexican inspired dishes, but this time I decided to make a Finnish recipe. What I'm going to do is to boil some carrots. I have around 1.5 kilograms of carrots. I just wash them, cut the ends, peel them, chop them into small pieces, and I'm throwing them into water. I'm going to boil these carrots for about an hour. I'm going to boil them with some salt. They will be on a medium-high fire, so around 4 out of 6 on my stove. While the carrots are boiling, we're going to also boil some more water on a smaller pot. I have 3 deciliters of water boiling, and I'm going to add 1.5 deciliters of rice. I'm going to do some rice porridge, so try to find some good rice for that. You have to keep the rice on a medium fire, and you gotta keep moving from time to time, make sure it doesn't get stuck or burnt on the bottom. You have to cook until your rice is basically getting dry, when most of the water has been consumed. As you can see, water is now almost consumed. It's still moist, but I have to move it constantly so it doesn't burn, doesn't get stuck. So at this point I'm going to add 7 deciliters of milk. As a reminder, if you live, for example, in Mexico, that I know we use milliliters more often instead of deciliters. It's just multiplied by 100. 1 deciliter equals 100 milliliters, 7 deciliters, 700 milliliters. Now we have to keep cooking, keep moving from time to time, make sure it doesn't get stuck, and we have to make the milk consume a bit. It might be, if you haven't done this before, that the amounts seem a bit off for you. It might seem at the beginning like there's too much milk and this won't work. I think that's quite a common thought, but just let it be, let the milk boil for a while, and you will notice how it starts to thicken up, it starts to becoming more like a rice porridge. Just give it some time. Our porridge is now ready, and we can take it away from the stove. You can make sure the consistency is the consistency you want. You might leave it for a bit longer, but for me this is the right consistency. Our carrots are ready. They were boiling for a while, they're quite soft. I removed most of the water, and at this point now we have 3 different options. If you have an immersion blender, you can blend them right into the pot. If you have a potato masher, you can also mash them right there on your pot. I haven't bought any of those 2, so I'm using my blender, and I'm just going to put all my carrots in there, put some water. Depends on what texture you like. If you like more of a cake kind of texture, you can add less water, but for a blender it's nicer to have some water that helps the blending process. I tried not to use too much water because I want the puree to be as thick as possible, but of course for a blender it's quite hard to blend something if there's not some water that will help, and it will take a while, but we'll get there. I have here the same pot where I boiled my carrots, and I'm going to throw all my carrot puree into it. Once I add the carrot, I'm going to add also all my rice porridge. Our main ingredients are in, so I will add now some nutmeg for seasoning and flavor. I will also add 1 egg. I'm going to add 2 spoons of this syrup they sell here. I think it's some kind of rye bread syrup. If you cannot find it where you live, you can probably use some other substitute as maple syrup or something similar to that. If you cannot find anything like that, or you don't have it, you can also substitute it for 1 spoon of regular sugar. Once we're done, we will mix all of our ingredients. Some people might also add some white pepper. Some people skip the nutmeg and only add white pepper. This is the kind of recipe that every family probably has their own recipe, and most of them are quite similar, but of course everyone makes maybe the amounts or some of the seasonings a bit different. Now the only ingredient we're missing is some salt, so I will add some salt and give it another mix. Once our mix is ready, now we can prepare to put it into the oven. I greased my container with some butter so it doesn't get stuck, and I will pour all of my mix into this. After pouring our mix, we'll cover the top with some breadcrumbs. And for this recipe I might have used a bit too much, but also the texture is not bad, the taste is not bad. I really like it. If you are not a fan of those, then try to use a bit less. Once your breadcrumbs are there, you can also add a bit of butter. I just add a few drops, and we're ready to take this to our oven. I'm putting my casserole into the oven. The oven is preheated to 175 Celsius, so it's about 350 Fahrenheit. Now we just have to wait for 2 hours. After 2 hours, our casserole is ready. While this might not be the nicest looking dish I've uploaded, it's very delicious, very traditional, goes really well with the Christmas ham, and the breadcrumbs on top give it a really nice texture. This kind of recipe reminds me a lot of the kind of thing we used to do in Mexico with my family, because we always have some pork dish, some turkey, and some of these sweet side dishes that go with the meat. It's a really nice combination. I like it a lot. This is a dish that is simple to make, it's easy. You will find a lot of variations of the same. This is something I like. You will find a lot of texture. Some people like to make it more into a puree, so it's like more like a cake kind of consistency. But anyway, I hope you liked the video. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll try to make some more of these Finnish recipes so you see a bit of how the food is here. It's very different to what I'm used to, and I really like it. So hope you enjoyed the video. Press like, subscribe, share it with your friends, all those kind of things. Activate the bell, and see you in the next one.